Hiya Fishy Folks, and welcome back to Michael's Fish Room. Today's video we're going to be talking about sponge filters. Grab a healthy snack and beverage. Stand by. Alright Fishy Folks, welcome back. If you're new here to the channel, my name is Michael from Michael's Fish Room. I have a fish room where I breed for profit. I have 60 breeding for profit tanks breeding guppies and plecos. I sell them on my website, michaelsfishroom.com. On this channel I do talk about breeding for profit, how to raise and care for guppies and plecos. I do some DIY videos, I do product reviews, I talk about how to care for fish, how-to videos, fish food videos, that kind of thing. Hopefully you like it. Hit that subscribe button. If you're not new here but you haven't subscribed, what in the heck are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button right now. I'll wait. Okay. Today we're going to be talking about sponge filters, my favorite kind of filtration. I love it because it's easy to maintain and inexpensive to run. So sponge filters have great biological filtration, pretty good mechanical filtration, and offer no chemical filtration, which in my fish room of 60 breeding for profit tanks, I don't use any chemical filtration. In fact, I can't tell you the last time I've used any chemical filtration in any filters I've ever used. When I talk about chemical filtration, what I mean is carbon. I don't use any carbon or ChemiPure or any of that other stuff, just plain old beneficial bacteria. Alright folks, so today we're going to be using the Aquarium Co Op medium sponge filter. Everything I talk about today is going to apply to most other sponge filters. I happen to have about 60 of these in my fish room. I'm going to be changing all of my older sponge filters to these Aquarium Co Op sponge filters. I've already started to do it, but then I had to stop because I had some other things going on. So let's just talk about the sponge filter. I'm going to unbox it now, show you the different components of the sponge filter, and we'll go from there. So here's how it comes. We're going to take it apart from the bottom up. First you have the base. This is a weighted base, and basically it keeps the sponge filter down on the bottom at the either the gravel or bare bottom tank if you have that. It's pretty heavy, and that's all. The other thing you might notice about these sponge filters from Aquarium Co Op is all the plastic is green. I believe that's to help reduce algae buildup, but I don't really care, so yeah. Alright, I'm going to take the sponge off. We'll talk about the sponge a little bit. This is a coarse sponge. What's great about this is it doesn't clog up as fast. When a sponge filter clogs, I'm going to talk about how it works in a minute, but when a sponge filter clogs, it lessens the efficiency of the sponge filter, lowers the efficiency. So we'll talk about how a sponge filter works in a second, but here's the center part, and it has a spot for it like them. They truly never clog, although I only had them running for about a year now, so no issues there. They come with all kinds of little extra parts, but these are actually adjustable. If you didn't know, you can tighten them to make the bubbles smaller, or you can make it bigger to make the bubbles bigger. I like smaller bubbles, so I usually leave it at the factory setting, if you will, but you know, you can make it smaller. Then you need a little piece of airline. This is the Aquarium Co Op airline tubing. It's very flexible. I also like this Cobalt airline tubing for you know, the top part of the tank, but if it's going inside, it doesn't really matter what color it is. I do like these types of airline tubing because they're softer and they don't get brittle very easily. So here's your inside part. You're going to take the top part off simply, put it like this, put it like this, then you put your sponge back on like this. You just want to hear it click. Done. Put your base on. Then what I would do is I would take, this is the Cobalt airline tubing, bright yellow, because, you know, why not? So what I would do is I would take my lift tube, run my airline through it, just connect it like this, put the lift tube on, and there you go. Now let me just talk about how a sponge filter works, okay? So we talked about the different parts, but the way it works is the air goes into the sponge filter, the bubbles create lift, which come out through the lift tube, and that creates suction, which water flows through the sponge where the beneficial bacteria that converts the ammonia into nitrite, and the nitrite into nitrate live, two different kinds of bacteria. If you're not familiar with the nitrogen cycle, I put a link up here for you for a video I did explaining it. I try to make it as simple as possible for you. It's not that it's complicated, but you know. And so the airline goes in, the bubbles come out and create lift. Now there's a couple different things with the bubbles that I've learned over the years and from watching YouTube, quite frankly. You want small bubbles, not big bubbles. Smaller bubbles are actually quieter, and they create more efficient lift for you. So some of the questions that I get asked are, do you really need the lift tube? No, you don't. It just creates more lift, and typically the sponge filter is designed to have the lift tube, so you may want to leave them in place. These lift tubes actually look a little more narrow than most other brands, and I'm assuming that's by design. So plecos and snails and stuff don't get in there. I have found plecos stuck in here. Typically they live fine. Occasionally they pass. What are you gonna do? Snails do get in here. I've never had one clog, but you know, you may want to not use it. The other thing is you can cut this. If you have a short tank and you have a tall filter, you don't need it, or you can certainly cut this, you know, with a knife or whatever. The other question I get a lot is, do you really need the airstone inside? And no, you don't really need the airstone inside, but most sponge filters are designed, like I said, to run most efficiently with the airstone. So that's how I set it up. I don't really remember how much the airstone and air sponge filter costs. I can't imagine it's more than 10 bucks to purchase. And then, you know, everyone has airline lying around, whether you use clear, black, yellow, orange, green, whatever. So there's the aquarium sponge filter. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set it up in a tank and show you how it works. The other thing I want to talk about real quick is air pumps. Now I have 2 linear piston air pumps from Aquarium Co Op running my fish room right now. But if you only have 1 or 2 tanks, you know, you could buy a small air pump from any of the brands, Tetra, Marineland. I don't know. I don't buy small air pumps anymore. But I did see on Facebook recently in Cookie's Fish Room a person who I happened to have helped before. Her tank was right next to her bed, and she had sponge filters, but she needed a quiet air pump, and I suggested the Nano air pump from Aquarium Co Op. This was sent to me as a gift from Corey, and I appreciate that. So just so you know, it was free. But I've used them traveling when I've picked up fish. So I know how quiet they are. It comes with a little square. I guess this is a rectangle. I always call them squares. And these things are virtually silent. And they're pretty powerful for this little tiny air pump. So obviously the way it works is you plug the USB into the rectangle, plug that into the wall, you plug your airline into here, boom, you're done. I mean, it comes with the little carabiner. I wouldn't go climbing with this thing. If I were you, it probably wouldn't hold much weight, but you know, this way you can hang it somewhere, what have you. But these things are really silent. So seriously, like this air pump and the air filter and the airstone, I don't know, maybe it's 12 or 13 bucks. I gotta check, but really not a bad deal. And these things are quite powerful for the little tininess. So, all right, folks, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set up this sponge filter. I'm gonna show you what it looks like in a tank and go from there. If you need to refill your healthy snack and beverage, as always, let me know down in the comments below what said snack, said beverage are. Stand by. All right, fishy folks, we're here in front of a 20-gallon high breeding for profit blue Moscow tank. You can see in the back it already has an Aquarium Co Op sponge filter hooked up, running perfectly. But I just want to show you what it's like to add a new filter, new sponge filter to a tank. So I have the airline hooked up. I just don't have it on. Just basically drop it in. Now, what I like to do is I like to just simply give it a squeeze. And what's that going to do is get all the air bubbles out. And there you go. Apparently the air was on and I didn't even know it. Running perfectly. I'm going to move the camera up a little bit so you can see the bubbles. Now this airline is the Cobalt colored airline. I'll put a link down below for Amazon. It is similar to the Aquarium Co Op black airline, but I like it because I have multiple tanks, so it's easier for me to trace the airline. That's simply the reason why I use it. Now, these sponge filters work great, as I said, for mechanical filtration. If you are breeding for profit, or you do keep guppies or plecos or other live bearers that like to basically snack and graze all day, the mold and other detritus that gets attracted or attached to this sponge filter, the guppies and plecos will snack. They'll graze on that. As a matter of fact, you can't see it because it's out of frame, but there's already fry that are nibbling on the debris that has been attached. Now, I just want to go over how to clean one of these sponge filters as well. It's quite easy, and I've done other videos on it. But essentially, what you're going to want to do is to take it out of the tank, two things. One, very carefully and gently get a plastic bag, put it on the bottom of the sponge filter, wrap it around, and then lift it up. And I would do that with the air still on, and that'll try to catch any debris that would fall off and get back into your tank. The other way to do it is simply gently lift it up with the air still on, and any debris that falls off the sponge filter is just mown back in your tank. So that's pretty easy. Then what you would do is you would simply take it apart, take the sponge off, rinse the sponge in treated water. You don't want to use water with chlorine or chloramines. It will kill all your beneficial bacteria. So you're simply going to squeeze it out in either old tank water or conditioned water, water that you've had your water conditioner, whether it's Seachem Prime or Safe or anything from Fritz, anything you're going to use for water conditioner. And you just want to squeeze it out until the water coming out of the filter is clean. It's that easy, folks. That pretty much does it. There really isn't a whole lot of technical or mechanical jargon used with a sponge filter. It's pretty easy. I've done other videos on how to optimize them. I'll put links up top for you and also in the description. And that's that. Folks, if you like anything you see here, please consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. And of course, hit that thumbs up button and share with all your friends and all your fishy groups. Hope you guys have a great day. There are definitely ways to optimize it. However, that's dumb. I gotta stop this because I gotta find that. If you're not familiar with the aquarium nitrogen cycle, it's really not the aquarium nitrogen cycle, it's just the nitrogen cycle. Alright, fishy folks, if it's your first time here, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button if you like what you see. If you don't like what you see, I don't really give a shit. No, I probably shouldn't say that. Well, folks, we're here in the end run to the end of the year. End run to the end of the year? No. No. No.